Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar world champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Welcome, everyone, to Season 20 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with Larry Lefty McLeod, and we've got Dennis Branch and Jonathan Grabowski in the virtual production truck bringing you all the best camera angles and action that Apex Racing TV is known for. So 2 weeks ago, our MX-5 racers descended on the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and if they thought that that was madness, tonight they've got another thing coming, because tonight we head across the Atlantic to the tiny Scottish circuit made from service roads and an abandoned mineral railway. It's got everything. It's got dips and dives. It's got blind entrances and exits and lots of very inviting gravel traps. And just 1.2 miles of pavement and 60 minutes to work out their differences. Our racers battle not only each other, but perhaps the ultimate course for these Miatas. Because once the green flag flies at Knockhill Racing Circuit, there can be only one. So good evening, Larry. How are you doing this evening?
I am doing well, and I'm going to withhold from doing a Scottish accent, although I could do it quite well tonight. I'm going to save you all from that.
That's right.
I'm looking forward to this.
The clan McLeod over there.
The very same. Yeah, so I'm super excited about this tonight. New track to the series. It's relatively new to the iRacing platform. It's going to be pretty exciting. It is a crazy little circuit. I had a chance to run a few races here over the weekend, and it is a crazy layout, but I think it's going to really be a perfect place for Miatas, and that's what we've got tonight with a full 1 hour race, not the 30-minute sprints. We're going full hour with this one.
Yeah, so Knockhill, and we're going to turn things over to Kevin Ford in just a few moments for our track guide, but Knockhill, it is 33 feet wide from side to side, as opposed to Road America, which is 55 feet wide. So very tight confines here at the Knockhill circuit. You can see there are flashing up on the screen the big sausage curbs at every single apex. We're going to see these MX-5s just absolutely flying through the air, Larry, and I'll tell you, this is probably one of my favorite circuits to watch the British touring cars, BTCC. Those are a little bit more stiffly sprung than our MX-5s. The MX-5s might be able to absorb some of the vagaries around this circuit that make it so difficult for those touring cars, but it is still going to be one heck of a fight. We've had really the first 2/3 of the season at these tight courses, where your hands are always moving, you're always tossing around. The elevation seems to be going from uphill to downhill, on camber, off camber. But I think Knockhill maybe encompasses it's really the epitome of that. I mean, it just for
a little bit of all of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a we talk about Lime Rock being a bull ring, but this place, it's only 1.2 miles. The drivers are turning laps in the 55-second range. They're going to be turning probably 60 plus laps tonight over this 60-minute race, and I mean, it's just going to be nonstop action, I think.
Should be a good time. I think elevation changes will play into it. I think there are passing opportunities. The long back straight section is a great one for that.
Yeah.
But it's followed by a hairpin, followed by another straightaway, and it usually means plenty of passing, plenty of long side stuff, and then you get to the twisty beds. We'll see all that in the track guide. But I'm excited because it's new, a new opportunity for this series to go new places. And I think we've got some of the best drivers who we're going to find anywhere. You look at our point standings, we'll get to that a little bit, and it's almost a who's who of Miata specialists, and I think we're going to really see a showcase of that tonight.
All right, and so, well, without further ado, why don't we turn things over, Larry, to Kevin Ford for tonight's very quick, very short track guide of the Knockhill racing circuit.
Welcome, everyone, to Scotland. Great to have you with us as we bring you your track guide today around this incredible course here known as Knockhill Circuit. 1.26 miles is what it takes to get it done around this place, and it has 9 corners. Well, they'll keep you on the edge of your seat. As we head up the front straightaway here, we'll come across the stripe, and you'll notice we head downhill into turn 1. And man, is this a fast one. Very difficult to get things narrowed up here to make this corner. Back down to the left here through 2, then heavy on the brakes, down a gear into turn 3. Bit of a tight wrapping exit. This will take us through the very fast right-hander of 4 and then up into this very difficult tight chicane of 5 and 6. Coming out of 6, we'll head up a little short chute into another tight wrapping exit of 7. You can see how fast this course transpires. Coming out of 7, we'll head into 8, which is a very fast sweeping left-hander. Down this little short chute into Taylor's hairpin. The final corner here, turn 9 at Knockhill. Down into first gear, get that rotation, and up out of that corner. Try to get some good speed to launch up onto this front straightaway here. There you go. There's your track guide for the short and very fast Knockhill Circuit. Thank you for being with us.
All right, well, thank you very much to Kevin Ford for taking a full minute out of his day to give us our track guide here from the Knockhill racing circuit.
And you know what, Greg? Speaking of the track, you know what? If you look at this track from the sky, you know what it resembles? Piece of pie. It's a perfect triangular shaped piece of pie. And it is Pie Day. I just finished my piece of pie of whatever raspberry concoction stuff. It was so good. But anyway.
What kind of pie looks like that?
One that needs to be devoured quickly.
Actually, I look at it and I think it looks more like the state of North Carolina, but who am I to say? Here
says the guy sitting in Charlotte right now.
That's absolutely right. So we've got cars on track right now, and as we always do here in the Classic Sprint Series, we give our drivers 15 minutes to set their fastest lap for the grid for tonight's race. They have 4 flying laps in which to do it. So, it's like, Larry, it's like going to an autocross or something. They get, a full 4 minutes of track time before
the lap times are about autocross. A little bit faster straightaway speeds, but not much.
Not much. And you can see there is, we just had the number 62 machine go around that, having 4 laps might not be enough to set a qualifying time. Matter of fact, we only have now, I think, 3 drivers that have set a lap where they did not go off track here. As we're watching, looks like Brennan Horn in the number 45 car making all the use of the gravel traps here. So that lap is obviously going to be deleted as well. And Larry, so as we watch here, we may get into a position where a good portion of the field has already completed all of their laps, and we still have time. But that will definitely give us maybe some additional time to talk to tonight's pre-race interview subject, and that is going to be Greg Mack, driver of the number 2 Team Esport Racer Machine. He is currently running 5th in the Pro Championship. Since we do have some time here, why don't we take a quick look back at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, where we ran rounds 5 and 6. We had 2 30-minute races. We inverted the field for the second race. Taking the win in race 1 was Mike Dam. That's Greg Mack's well, no, that is not Greg Mack's teammate. I'm sorry. That's the Orion Racing driver. Mike Dam took the win. John Allen had an incredible evening at Mid-Ohio. That's his home track. In real life, he finished second in race number 1. He took the win, not to foreshadow any, in race number 2. Finishing on the third step of the podium, both for races 1 and 2, Nathan Nicholson, new entry, driving the number 56 Delta Sport machine. This was his first outing this season. He had raced with us in, I believe, season 1, so it was nice to have him back. And again, great outing for him in his first time out this season. Then finishing in 4th, Travis Schwenke from Orion Racing, just off the podium, and then Brennan Horan finishing in 5th. And if we jumped over to race 2, again, we inverted the field, actually moved the top 7 drivers, we inverted the top 7 drivers to make up the grid for race number 2. Taking the win was, as I mentioned, John Allen, finishing 2nd, Travis Schwenke, Nate Nicholson again finishing in 3rd, and then just off the podium, Mike Dam, our race 1 winner. And then finishing in 5th place was Caleb Lavender in the D2D iRacing entry, the 333 car. And we'll talk a little bit more about Caleb, I think, here as we get ready and grid cars up for our 60-minute race tonight. And again, we are running just a single race this evening, a single 60-minute race. And so let's take a look at the points here for our Pro category. Currently sitting atop the leaderboard in Pro is John Allen in the number 101 machine from Seamless Racing. And you can see there with 196 points. He's 6 points up on Mike Dam. And again, both of them had pretty good nights. Just John Allen a little bit more consistent at Mid-Ohio 2 weeks ago. Brennan Horan is currently sitting 3rd in the championship at 159 points. He was our Season 3 AM category champion, and running pretty darn well here in the Pro Championship this season, and currently running 4th, the aforementioned Caleb Lavender in the D2D iRacing entry, 146 points, and then another 11 points back from there, Greg Mack, who again we're going to be speaking to here in just a few moments. And so let's take a look at the AM category now, where taking the win in race 1, Steve Daniel in the SKKJ Racing machine, with Eugene Weber. Good night for Eugene, finishing 2nd in the Weber Racing Mazda MX-5. He actually finished on the 2nd step of the podium in both races 2 weeks ago. Jeffrey Cranston finished on the last step of the podium in race number 1, and then Greg Brockway in the Silks Racing entry finished 4th. And then Dean Dibdahl, who was the runner-up in the AM category championship last season, he finished in 5th for race 1. But if we jump over to race 2, Dean was your winner in race 2 and ran a pretty much a flawless race over the rest of the field, with Eugene Weber, as I mentioned, finishing on the 2nd step of the podium. Steve Daniel, our race 1 winner, taking home 3rd. Then finishing 4th was Nick Parsono, and 5th was Mike Taylor. All right, so let's take a look now at the points in the AM category, and this is after 6 rounds of 9, so 2/3 of the way through the season. And Eugene Weber, he is currently your points leader, and you can see here a little bit closer, I think, in the AM category right now than Pro. Weber with 126 points. Dean Dibdahl, who missed a round, so that would probably be his drop. Dean missed the Barber Motorsports round. He is currently sitting second in the championship with 120 points, and you can see the SKKJ Racing entry of Steve Daniel, 110, Greg Brockway fourth, Russ Ruddick fifth, and then it seems to get very, very tight as you run down through the order here in the AM category. All right, so let's see here. Do we have Greg Mack available to us yet? No, we do not. So hopefully he'll be here soon.
Nope, we can take a look at what we have so far in qualifying with Travis Schwenke right now with the top time. John Allen, he's actually all done. Currently second fastest here. Caleb Lavender third. And then your top rated right now, top ranked open class, that is Dean Dibdahl, currently second in the points as we just saw. Here he is being the highest qualifier right now, just ahead of our guest to be Greg Mack, currently fourth in class, fifth overall here on the grid. And as predicted, most of these guys are done. As you can see, camera currently on board with Jeff Jacobs. He's on his last flyer.
Yeah, exactly. This is Jacobs' last lap here. Why don't we follow him around for a bit? And I think he is the only driver that we have remaining on a flyer right now. But you can see how much this car
so bumpy
just flies around. It seems very rarely that it's on all four wheels. It looks like it's almost always got two in the air. And and if you get the car lined up at entry right, Larry, you don't see the hands flying around and flailing around. As the car
looking
flies.
at Jeff, he really keeps his hands nice at 3 and 9. He's really never flailing around at all. We got a good view of his hands here in the onboard.
There you go. And as quickly as that lap started, it is about to end. And I think that's actually going to be one of the keys here tonight, Larry. The final corner, Taylor's hairpin, is so tight, and it's one of the tightest corners in the UK. And when you watch the MX-5s come through there, you can see there's a decent amount of wheel spin. They've still got a good amount of drift from the rear end of the car. And I think having a steady right foot is going to be very, very important. Not with the amount of power that drivers have to worry about spinning out coming out of that corner, but maybe being able to get the power down and carry speed down the shortish front straight. It could be a very good passing opportunity if you get a good run out of there.
And I think what's critical there is obviously get the power down, because it's uphill all the way from essentially the braking point all the way almost to the entry of 1. You're just a little crest just before that as you go under the starter stand there. But it's so far uphill that, and it's hard to see from this shot here, but you really need that momentum. You got to get on that gas early, so you got to get the power down, get your turning done early, and get on that power done right. It's really going to pay off. And I think we're going to see a lot of passing just before that little dip there, the Duffus dip, just before you see that at turn 1, because what's going to happen is someone's going to get pushed to the wrong side of the Taylor's hairpin.
That's
and
right.
Be just no momentum all the way up that front straight. So that'll be fun to watch, as you can see one-on-one John Allen flying around through the chicane. You can see essentially center punching those red curbs around that chicane, and here running a little bit just to the edge of the gravel trap. It's just crazy how much you have to throw these cars to get a fast lap around this place.
And and I'm really, Larry, hoping to see tonight a lot of side-by-side action with these drivers. You always think about where we were 2 weeks ago at Mid-Ohio. If you want to make a pass, you brake late going in the 4, you try to go around the outside, and then side-by-side up to madness over at turn 5. And there are just so many places around this track where you have to do more or less the exact same thing. It should be great action. And of course, as we mentioned, there are a lot of large gravel traps out here, because it's not uncommon to see these drivers drift so wide out of some of these corners. There are so many that are blind if you turn in just a little bit early. Of course, there are those gravel traps to catch you. There you go, just like that, exactly as John Allen.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for demonstrating that for us, and then also for the chicane that we have as you continue downhill, the chicane, where really you enter the first part of it. You enter the left-hander, and the right-hander is completely blind. You don't see the apex until you're halfway through the chicane anyhow. I mean, it's just such a challenge here.
Yeah, those blind corners, both the turn 1 Duffus dip as well as that chicane, make it so challenging because you don't know what's on the other side. You hope there's no one there. You hope to watch your spotter. But even if you know what's over there, to get it right, to not, as you see Jeff Jacobs here coming up with the Duffus dip, to turn in with confidence that the car is not going to go sliding left into that gravel trap is hard to do. And that's really the difference between, I think, what's going to make a fast driver here tonight versus maybe somebody in mid-pack is how comfortable are they on this relatively new track? How much seat time have they been able to get in just a short time and do it with confidence around here, lap after lap for an hour?
Yeah, and and also, Larry, of course, what we've seen with the MX-5s over the last couple of builds is that it takes a couple laps to get those tires up to temperature, and it should, I think, maybe add to the excitement, maybe even just a little bit more as our drivers are fighting cold tires with side-by-side action and having their cars tossed around all over the place on the curbing. It should make for a good time here.
It's interesting that John and Jeff are the only ones out there practicing, and I wonder if because it's a newer track, these guys want to get some extra seat time in to really get that groove and to get a feeling what this tire is going to be like 6, 7, 8, 10 laps in as the race settles in. So that's where John's at. I'm kind of keeping an eye on it. He's probably around lap 7 here out of our 4-lap qualifying.
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't take all that much, and that's actually exactly where he is, I think, given what we've seen. And we saw him take that chicane, Larry. Very quick uphill, and there's the huge sausage curb at the apex of the second part of the chicane, and these cars are just absolutely splitting them. And he was, for a moment there, 4 wheels in the air. So it's going to be a sight to see here as we take a look. And again, we have had all of our drivers put in their 4 flying laps here and have finished their qualifying quite a while ago. But Travis Schwenke, as we mentioned, should be your pole sitter tonight with John Allen, Caleb Lavender, your top 3 in the pro category. Then Mack and Nicholson rounding out the top 5 in pro. In the AM category, Dean Dibdahl, your fastest driver, with that 55.687. Then we've got Jeffrey Cranston in the Craney Customs machine. Currently, let's see, that will put him, I believe, 7th overall, 2nd in class, and then a huge chasm, another 4 cars back to Steve Daniel in the number 96 SKKJ racing machine. And then it's, another couple cars until you get back to Edgar Sanchinelli, Ruddock Key, so the AM category, well, I was going to say the AM category is split up, but obviously the pro category here, there are going to be a lot of very quick AM category drivers interspersed between that pro field as well.
Yeah, and that always makes it interesting when they're not bunched up and you get this intermixing. You get drivers like Dibdahl apparently has put in the time to learn this place. He's going to be right in the middle of a lot of these pro drivers. And as we've seen before, he tends to show patience, but I'm sure he'd love to run with the big boys here tonight.
All right, well, it looks like, we may have to hope for a podium finish from Greg Mack. It looks like we're not going to have him pre-race. Larry, why don't you run down the starting order for tonight's race?
All right, some would say a surprise, but I think for Travis, it's going to be a pleasant one. He's on pole tonight from Orion Racing. Travis Schwenke out-dueling the seamless racing entry from John Allen, who we saw put in all those laps after his 4 were in the books. That'll make up your front row. Row 2, Caleb Lavender. He'll be lined up alongside Dean Dibdahl. One note is Caleb, actually, due to a post-race penalty, is going to be starting this race from the pits. So Dean will have no one lined up with him there on row 2. Row 3 on the inside. Didn't make it here for the interview. Must have been getting ready for the race. Greg Mack from Esports Racer. He'll be lined up alongside one of our newer ones here to the series, and he's showing us some speed. Nate Nicholson from Delta Sport. Row 4 on the inside. Another one of our AM-class drivers, Jeff Cranston from the Craney Customs Racing, lined up alongside Jordy Fike from Esports Racer. On row 5, on the inside to StreetSurvival.org, Jeff Jacobs, who apparently they're saying he's retiring. I don't think so. He's going to be lined up alongside Robert Hartley from Orion Racing. On row 6, on the inside, Steve Daniel, SKKJ Racing. On the outside, Slicks Racing is Brennan Horan. On row 7 on the inside, D2D Racing's David Payton, alongside Frito Sport Racing's Edgar Sanchinelli. On row 8, Russ Ruddock will be on the inside from Flying Tortoise Motorsport, alongside another Frito Sport Racing driver, Mike Key. On row 9 on the inside, another Slicks Racing driver, Greg Brockway. He'll be lined up alongside another Frito Sport Racing driver, Mike Taylor. On row 10, the inside, Nick Parsono from NAP Motorsports, lined up alongside Robert Briss from RFC Racing. And on row 11, on the inside, John Casey from 046 Racing. And on the outside, Frito Sport Racing's Patrick Prevenis.
All right, Larry, and so we had received word that due to a post-race penalty, Caleb Lavender would be starting from the pit lane, but that does not appear to be the case, Larry. Yeah, we
He's
see
on
him
the
right
tracks.
there.
I don't know if maybe he's going to pull in and do a drive-through. We'll have to wait and see what the stewards decide to do with that. Is there? We see him lined up along Dean Dibdahl there on the second row.
Yeah. All right, so they're underway here and on their pace lap, a very short pace lap. They're going to be trying to get some heat in the tires, no doubt, and the brakes as well. And my, that Mustang looks awfully large going around Knockhill. So the other thing to think about tonight, Larry, is that this is a 60-minute race, and based on the amount of fuel that these cars can carry during the race, we think that they're probably only going to be able to do about 41 laps. So about a little bit over 40 minutes of this 60-minute race. And so as small as this track is, you know, trying to, you know, pit so that you have open track, it might be very difficult here it will no doubt be very congested.
And I'll tell you, that pit out is right on driver's left. It's pretty much, if you're staying on track, where you want to be to set up to go down that Duffus Hill turn 1. So if someone's trying to pit exit when you're coming down the front straight, they're going to block you from getting a good line down turn 1. It could make things very interesting as intermixing happens there late in the race.
Yeah, it could seriously compromise your exit from you go down to Duffus Dip and then have to set up for the left-hander at Leslie's so quickly. As we've got the field now coming up to that very tight Taylor's hairpin last turn, coming onto the front straight, all gridded up. Travis Schwenke has the field with John Allen in that 101 machine right beside him as we wait for the starter's signal. And there we go. Green flag is in the air, and we are racing. And you'll notice there is a different start line from the finish line. The finish line much closer to that hairpin as Travis Schwenke leads the field down into Duffus Dip for the very first time, down the hill into Leslie's and McIntyre. John Allen slots into second with Caleb Lavender third, and then Dean Dibdahl, who runs wide on the very first turn. Is he going to give up a spot to Nathan Hutchison? Hutchison cannot get by, however, and that slows up a good portion of the field as Greg Mack now runs in sixth. Jordy Fike, Jeffrey Cranston, Robert Hartley, Jeff Jacobs as now side by side still. Nate Nicholson trying to find a way around the number 19 of Dean Dibdahl, who is still trying to get that momentum back as they make the run down his slopes, the straightaway with a tiny little bend into Taylor's hairpin. And as quickly as we started, Larry, we are through one lap here at Knockhill.
Yeah, Dibdahl got a little bit crazy down there at the bottom of the hill. We got a pile up now at the hairpin. That's the 51. That's Robert Brist, who's trying to get away from Mike Taylor, and I think Greg Brockway is the third one in that bunch.
I think that's a 62 machine of Brockway as well, as they had trouble navigating that last, and it looks like we still have Brockway having trouble getting back underway.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's that difficulty there as they come out of that hairpin, Taylor's. So now we're back. It looks like the 56 there, Nicholson, has made his way around Dibdahl.
Off and around, Larry.
That's your pole sitter.
That was your leader, Travis Schwenke. He goes off coming out of the hairpin, and he's going to have to try and rejoin. That brings us a new leader, and that is John Allen, as Travis Schwenke now falls all the way back into 19th position. John Allen's your leader. Then we've got Caleb Lavender in the 333 machine. Then Nicholson, who had gotten around Dean Dibdahl finally. A bit of a gap between second and third. Dibdahl running fourth, and Mac Fike Cranston, and all of our drivers here now lined up in a row. But we have very, very quickly, as we complete lap number 2, a two-car breakaway between John Allen and Caleb Lavender.
Oh, that's unfortunate for Travis. Oh, I think we're going to catch a replay of this. Let's watch the replay here of Travis Schwenke. Oh,
all right, this is the incident down at the hairpin. As we just had, and it looks like Brockway really just had nowhere to go, as you know, and that's the challenge with that Turner, with that Taylor's hairpin is, you know, there's a lot of extra pavement out there if you want to square it off on entry, and it's very, very easy to just kind of sneak up the inside and be in somebody's blind spot.
Yeah, that's what it kind of looked like. Unfortunately, that pile up for all three of them. Let's see if the stewards do anything, but they're all back underway at this point, and this race got pretty exciting. First, we had the Dibdahl issue there and holding off Nicholson. Next thing you know, Nate got around him, so he's back up in here. And then poor Travis Schwenke, not sure what happened to him, probably spun on his own. Looked like it was somewhere down there around the chicane. We'll have to wait and see.
All right, and here we go. I think we've got the replay queued up now for Travis Schwenke. As he comes through the chicane, you can see the first part there, switches back to the left-hand side, gets the edge of the sausage curb. Yeah, and just, you know, the rear end kept going around.
And then he ends up the wrong way, so it's not like he can just put his foot in it and catch up with the field. He's got to wait for everyone to get that car rotated. Oh, and then here comes another one loose.
Oh, and that's the 97 of Cranston, and he gets into another car, and I believe that was that the number 2 machine of Greg Mack that he got into?
Mack is still going. Not sure.
Because it looked like one of our Team Esport racer machines that he made contact with. Well, I'm sure we'll get that on the replay in just a little bit, but you can see there, and again,
for a second there, I thought we were watching another replay of Schwenke because it looked like the exact same problem, catching a little bit of that gravel trap driver's left and causing a little bit of a tail wag. His ended up making contact, able to kind of keep things going somewhat, where Schwenke, we know, unfortunately had to go all the way around. As we're now taking a look, there's another one coming down. That looks like Daniels. Yeah.
And it looks like Steve Daniel had contact with another driver. Might have been Russ Ruddick that he got together with on the way coming down the hill.
Yeah, maybe. You can see that was trying to go side by side down the toughest dip, and it just didn't work. As he's trying to stay out of the way of the oncoming cars, and he does.
Yeah, and so he's going to now fall back to the tail end of the field. All right, let's take a look at the replay of exactly what happened to Jeff Cranston here, Larry, as he comes out of Clark's, runs wide, and that was one of the Orion Racing machines. Was that
Hartley? I think it was Hartley.
I think that might have been Hartley,
the yellow roll
in the 3
there.
machine. Yeah, I thought it was the 2, and turns out it was the 3 machine. And we can see here the 66 machine getting
Taylor.
a penalty assigned. And
Mike
that
Taylor
is Mike Taylor for that lap 1 incident going into the hairpin.
Yeah, and that's probably a fair thing to do. That's just tough. You get up under somebody, and that didn't leave you room. A little bit of contact there. As we're back to the leaders now, and you take a look, is Nate Nicholson has definitely caught up to this. Dean Dibdahl, this is a 4-way battle. These guys got about a 5-second gap clear to Greg Mack behind them. And this is going to be a tough battle, because all it takes is for one of these guys to decide that they don't want to play nice in the pack, and it's going to be side-by-sides all over the place.
It's going to be BTCC action all over the place here. So, it's interesting as we were watching when Cranston got that little tank slapper. Of course, as narrow as the track is here, you don't have a lot of width side to side to try and, catch the car and make maybe a little bit longer oscillation to get it straightened out. And you could see there where he was just rocking back and forth trying to keep it within the boundaries of the track, and walked away from him here as we now watch from the tail end as these drivers make their way through that.
There they go. Lavender's gonna be the first one to break the stride here and try to get up underneath the John Allen. And they are clean. Oh, a little contact perhaps.
Yeah, a little bit of contact there coming through Clark's, that uphill right-hand turn.
Nicholson does not want to yield to Lavender. They're going to go 3 wide to the hairpin. We got contact.
And Nicholson and Lavender get together,
and they are both
off. And Larry, that is, I think, playing and going back to 2 weeks ago at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, those 2 drivers were not giving any quarter to one another then either. And I guess we could say it now that that post-race penalty that we thought had been assigned to the 333 car had to do with some contact between those 2 drivers, and now they have both taken themselves out of the running for the lead here, as John Allen in the number 101 machine, your new leader. Dean Dibdahl, our AM category leader, has now moved up into 2nd, and Greg Mack, almost 5 seconds back, 4 seconds back, is your new 3rd place runner. As we jump on. All right, let's take a look, Larry. I think we had a pretty good view in real time, but let's take a look at some more angles here between Lavender and then
take a look there.
Nicholson.
Lavender just catches the tail there and then loses control, never quite gets it back, takes out Nicholson then from that side. And that's just unfortunate that neither one of them wanted to back out. They wanted to stay there in line, go into Taylor side by side. It just didn't work. And these 2 guys are going to have to go off to the pub and make up, or figure it out, or, in a true Scottish way, go have a fight and then go make up.
Do some Highland dancing. What was it? Haggis throwing or haggis hurling? Pardon me. Haggis hurling is
ever had haggis? You might want to hurl. So
exactly.
Back to the front of the field as Dibdahl has been able to stay here with John Allen. I tell you, Dean looking very racy here tonight. John Allen is going to have a fight on his hand. Don't worry about one of these cars is black mirrors and one of them's got red mirrors. At this point, throw all that out the window. Throw it out the mirror because no one cares. They are just going to go at this one-on-one, mano-a-mano, and this is going to be a lot of fun. The veteran John Allen against the youth of Dean Dibdahl. This is a good matchup.
Yeah, that's right. And so Larry, of course, pointed it out because I forgot to mention it earlier. The drivers with the black mirrors and the black number boards, those are our pro category drivers, the AM category drivers. They've got the red mirrors and the red number boards. But here at the front of the pack, it doesn't matter. But I will say a little bit further back in the pack, Larry, we had, I think, the remainder of our AM category field after Steve Daniel went off were all packed up, all in a row. And now Edgar Sancinelli, he has a tiny bit of breathing room in his number 57 Frito Sport racing machine. You can see there about 6 or 7 car lengths back to Robert Hartley, who is in the pro category. So he's got some breathing room now before he has to worry about Russ Ruddick, who's just now coming into the screen in that green and black machine.
Hartley, though, is going to be there in a hurry. He's lapping about a half a second quicker than Sancinelli in front of him, and they're not racing for class. I suspect Edgar might just kind of let him by. These two guys, the teammates here in the Esports Racer, that's Greg Mack and Jordy Fike, they're working pretty well together, trying to cut into this lead of Allen and Dibdall. And knowing how patient that Dean's shown in this series, I don't know that he's going to push too hard for Dean to try and go side by side and slow down he and Allen. So Mack and Fike are going to have a huge uphill battle to try and cut into that 4.5 second lead.
Yeah, and as we're looking here, on pace right now, both Mack and Fike running about a half second a lap faster than our 2 leaders, John Allen and Dean Dibdall, and I'm sure a lot of that has to do with how, the fact that they are working together in that draft. But we'll see, if Dean does decide to perhaps challenge our leader, John Allen, or if he's content to sit right back there as well.
As there's Travis Schwenke, former leader in this race, led the first lap and a half before his issues. He is one of the quicker cars on track right now. That's the 98 just in front of him, Mike Key. And Travis just trying to say, hey, Mike, you're a different class. Just kind of let me on through. And I think he's going to do that right here. And up in
we'll
front
see what
of them,
happens as they come down to the hairpin. And Schwenke has position, and he's actually managed to get around as long as he can get on the binders and bring that car up the hill. You can see the glowing rear brake discs on that Mazda MX-5, but Schwenke does get that done. He now moves up to 11th position after having fallen all the way back to all the way into 23rd at the time.
So kind of keeping our eye on some other fast movers in the field. Schwenke's obviously one of them. Hartley's the other, now 2 seconds behind Jeff Jacobs. And again, right now, Hartley lapping at about a second or so, maybe even a second and a half faster than Jacobs. So he'll be there very soon.
Very quickly, yeah.
He's made his way around Edgar Sancinelli there. Hartley off to a bit of a slow start in this race. We know he's always a contender in this series. And I think before the night is over, we're going to see him probably into that top 5. We'll see if he can get any closer than that. But he right now is definitely one of the quickest cars on track.
All right, and so we're a little bit over 10 minutes into this 1 hour race here from Knockhill. And Larry, I think we've had enough action in the first 10 minutes, more than we saw even all day at Mid-Ohio 2 weeks ago.
Yes, we have seen a lot. I'll tell you what we also have seen. We've seen John Allen getting in those last couple laps after his 4 official qualifying one. I think it's paying off. He's getting into a bit of a groove here. He and Dibdall basically running 56 flat, whereas the guys I mentioned like Hartley at 55.7, Schwenke's at 55.6. So they could be a little quicker, but I think this is the kind of rhythm John Allen wants. Just steady as it goes and just start running those really good laps. And Dean is probably just going to show patience and maybe wait till make a move late in the race. He has no need to push right now.
No, none at all. And so, yeah, even though Mack and Fike, seem to be making up at least a little bit of ground on our leaders, I mean, at 3 or 4 tenths per lap, it will still take a long time to make up that 5.5 second differential that they have right now. All right, and so did get word from the stewards that the 333 car of Caleb Lavender doesn't look like that car will be rejoining us for the rest of the evening. Kind of a lot of damage. We saw it once Lavender got together with Nate Nicholson. It had gone all the way to the tire wall. Drivers left over at Taylor's hairpin, but sounds like there's too much damage for that car, and Lavender's not going to rejoin. As
Hartley gets on by, as we predicted there, along past Jeff Jacobs. Just to note though about Nate Nicholson, he did go. Looks like he went into the pits, took on some repairs, and he's back in. I don't know if he's going to be able to take on enough fuel to make it the rest of the way. But there he is, the 56, the red car. He is back out. Just a little bit of light damage still on the right side, but he's running some pretty good laps. So we'll see how we. Just probably wants to get more into this, and we'll see how far up the order he can go before tonight. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen already Hartley has had a pretty good recovery drive after that hit that he took, and of course Travis Schwenke, who now has made his way all the way up in the 10th position after having fallen all the way back to the tail end of the field. Having spun from the lead. So, we may see here Nicholson has got a lot of time. He's got, almost what, 85 minutes, almost 45 minutes here to make his way back towards the front. Now, the one thing is we were tracking Greg Mack and Jordy Fike. They had a little bit of breathing room. That is no longer the case, as now they have another teammate along for the ride, and that is Brennan Horn in the number 45 machine. So, looks like 3 in a row here, and we'll see what happens when David Payton in the number 64 machine joins the party as well, if that breaks things up a little bit.
Yeah, I think the Mack and Fike pace has slipped a little bit. They're now running mid to higher 56s instead of those 55s. Brennan Horn's taken full advantage of that, and he's come up right up with them. And I think either Jordy's got to get on by Greg, or I think perhaps Brennan's going to take both of them here shortly.
Yeah, and so Brennan, he started in 12th position, of course, now up into 5th, so a net of 7 positions. Of course, we've had a couple of drivers up at the front of the pack fall off the course that have, given maybe gifted some positions to those drivers. But let's see. Perhaps Horn will take the lead of this group and maybe drag those other 2 drivers along.
Yeah, he right now is the quickest of these 3, and I think Greg Mack probably, although the last lap may have been a little better, but still, yeah, he was in the 55s that time, but not consistently, and I think that's the trouble here. It's the reason why Brennan was able to catch on up. Just he's being a lot more consistent in those high 55 lap times. So this is the best battle on track, 4-way here. We can throw in, there's David Payton there. Certainly hanging along in this as they run overall 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Brennan trying to push a little bit, literally, into the back of Jordy.
Now, I was wondering, and Dennis and John, maybe we can jump back to this battle for 3rd right now in the AM category. With Ruddock Cranston, I believe should be fairly close on track. Yeah, there we go. The 95 machine and the 97 machine, and here we go, side by side. Is that timing or what, Larry?
Greg Ginsburg, the new director.
That's right, as they come down into the Taylor's hairpin, and it looks like the 97 machine of Jeff Cranston manages to get around Russ Ruddock. He takes over 3rd position in the AM category, and they've still got I guess in looking at it, almost 11 seconds up the road is Edgar Sanchinelli running currently 2nd in class. But this is a battle that I think has been going on for the last couple laps here.
Yeah, I tell you, Cranston looks mighty quick in this battle. He kind of made that look easy down that his lap back straight there and into Taylor's. Was able to get on by, but just got to watch those curbs going across that chicane.
Well, and that's the thing. We've already seen where he has had an issue once, and this is a bit of a recovery drive for the Craney Customs driver that he had that earlier tank slapper and went off, getting into Robert Hartley. I think it was on lap 2, or it was either lap 2 or lap 3. They go so quickly here.
They do, and but he's definitely moving his way back up well now. As these guys, the leaders now, John Allen, Dean Didbell, have caught some drivers. That's 62 should be Brockway.
The 62 of Brockway.
And he's going to slide on over, let these guys resume their battle on past him. Let's see if Dean decides to take any of this. This is good opportunities for Dean. Should John come up on a car and take a little too long, Dean could possibly go by. But from Dean's perspective, you can learn a lot by following somebody. You can also save fuel and save tires by following, all of which for a 1-hour race are pretty good strategic things to have in your pocket. So Dean might just sit back and watch. And we know, as you see the little profile picture there, is him in a lay-down go-kart. He's got a lot of real-life wheel-to-wheel racing, as does John Allen. John's obviously got years of full-size. Dean's got a lot of years in his young age in go-karts. But these guys are very crafty and know how to use all those things to their advantage, like tire wear and fuel savings.
Yeah, and so Larry, as we were talking about, the fact that these drivers will likely have to pit long before this race is complete, would it make sense for Dean Dibdahl to try to save fuel, try to sit back in the draft of John Allen, and and basically shadow Allen when he comes in, and basically just hope against hope that maybe he can make up maybe a half a second to a second in the pits and maybe get out ahead of John Allen?
Well, I would use that fuel saving strategy for sure, but I would consider doing, the long game, wait for Allen to come in when he has to, and then go out and take an extra 2 laps or whatever you're able to save.
On low fuel.
Yes, and try to then turn in some burner laps. Or the opposite, if you see an opportunity, you know that your pit time should be shorter, but if you see an opportunity to duck in because you're the trailing driver, because you see some traffic up ahead, leave John to fight the traffic, you go ahead and drop back, and hopefully he can turn some good laps in before he takes his stop. Both of which are great strategies, knowing that you might have to take less fuel. That's assuming he's saving fuel right now. John's putting in a decent pace, so you never know what kind of pace Dean's got to do to stick with him.
All right, let's take a look here as our leaders coming up on quite a bit of traffic, coming up on the 29 machine, as well as the 51, Patrick Provenis and Robert Brist, I believe. Yeah, that's the white 51 of Brist, and Brist is going to hang drivers left, and Larry, looks like that may complicate, if not John Allen's entry into Duffus Dip. It looks like Dean Dibdahl might end up going, and Dibdahl gets around Brist just at the last minute there. Doesn't seem to lose too much pace going in the Duffus Dip, but more importantly, was able to get over all the way drivers left before turning.
Yeah, that's critical there. Again, I managed to drive a couple laps around this thing over the weekend. I was running in the Skip Barber car, not in the Miata, but similar idea. A car that's occasionally a little tail happy. And regardless of what you're in, that Duffus Dip is just blind and the bottom just drops out. And if you're not set up far left and you go to turn in, it tends to push you wide to your driver's left before you get down to the bottom of the hill where those 3 little pylons are. So it was really good to see Dibdahl be able to get back over there, make that pass on the lap car before having to make that turn in. Because if not, it's extremely compromising and even risky, dare I say, is Brendan Horn running wide there.
Very wide over at Taylor's, and basically opening the door up to David Payton. I don't know what happened there, Larry. If he was
I wonder if he just broke late, maybe, following in that draft a little bit, missed his braking point, maybe blinked looking down at his fuels. But either way, he's lucky to still be on the track and only giving up 1 spot.
Yeah, and as they came in there, the 09 machine, Jordy Fike, he feigned to the inside just a little bit. I don't think he was trying to get Greg Mack off his game, but it might have thrown Horn over just a little bit there.
It just gets you to blink, gets you to take your eyes up and go, wait a second, and next thing you know, you're 10 feet past the breaking point. Doesn't take much. As we got the good time. We got a lot of traffic here passing. That is the 29 of Provenis, trying to stay out of the way of this foursome. Plus, you got Robert Hartley making a 5-some coming through.
And Hartley's right into that pack as well. Now let's take a look. Oh, and turning in early and then running wide is David Payton, and Brendan Horn in the 45 machine, not quite able to get underneath the 64, not able to take that position back. But again, you look there as Payton took that early turn in.
He did. It's a tough corner.
Yeah, and just lost momentum on exit.
I tell you, what the toughest thing about that is finding a braking zone. There's not a lot of good markers down there. That back straight all the way out of, Clark's, the right-hander back there. It is such a long run. You're carrying more speed. I think it's kind of almost deceiving. And then you've got this super tight hairpin, one of the tightest hairpins that will run in any of these series. And it's just deceiving how early you have to brake for it. And all it takes is one moment to blink, and you're past it. And I think Payton hit that, and we saw Brendan Horn do that as well. Now I'm watching that 3, Robert Hartley has caught this pack. He's probably the quickest car on the track. He's going to have a lot of work, though, to get past these guys. But I want to note, he's now 10.5 seconds behind leader John Allen. He was about 14 seconds back just a couple laps ago. He has gained a lot of time in this pursuit of this pack. The problem is, he's got about 4 cars between he and third place.
Oof. And you see there as Payton goes and grabs every last bit of curbing there through McIntyre as well. All right, car on the pit lane there. Jeff Jacobs in the number 38 machine, and from the looks of it, this may be a scheduled pit stop for him. as he is just at about the opening portion of that pit window. We were thinking that the pit window would probably open up around lap 23, lap 24 tonight, and so we'll see if he plans on taking that car to the end, as he's now
his stop looked pretty
rejoining.
routine, about 22 seconds or so for his stop, takes on fuel, and back on his way he goes. So that's the benchmark. Look at this pack.
And here we
There's
go, and David Payton
in.
now bringing his car down to pit lane as well, as he, I think, was trying to find a good way around those Team Esport Racer drivers and just was not able to do it. And look at this, as we have another driver sitting right in
Mike Taylor
with them. Yeah, it's Mike Taylor sitting right in front of the number 3 machine of Hartley.
He's trying to let him by. It's a tough place to let him, but he finally does.
Yeah, and Hartley did it right at the chicane.
Yeah.
Just kind of goes by. Yeah, it's a little hairy there watching, but
I'm sure it's
Hartley
very hairy
lost a
for
little bit of
Hartley.
ground.
Thinking, okay, am I going to go by? Am I going to go by? And next thing you know, you're going through that blind chicane. As this is now you're watching Mac and Fike coming up, and that's the 51 of Robert Brist trying to stay out of the way of this pack.
And so Brist goes real
look at
deep,
Horan,
going into Taylor's.
Horan's got to run.
All
He's
right,
on that
and
inside.
looks like Robert Hartley is going to make his way to the pit lane now. We did have, as we saw David Payton before, take his pit stop rather early, and interestingly enough, Larry, in the pit lane about 2 seconds longer than Jeff Jacobs. But now it is Robert Hartley's time, and we'll see what
Smart
that
move.
looks like.
Very, very smart move for Hartley, knowing he's the fastest guy in this pack, and he's got 4 cars he would have had to try and slowly get past. Great move to get into the pits, get your fuel on, and just run it to the end and not have to get stuck behind a pack like this. Now he can go back out and have a shot to maybe pass all these guys in pits and put himself up into the top 3. And never know with Allen and Dibdall, maybe this race won't be just a 2-man show when pits are all said and done.
That's right. And so Hartley goes and rejoins. He was in his pit stall about 0.4 of a second longer than David Payton. And when he rejoins in 13th position, while while Payton, who came in a lap earlier, is sitting in 11th. So didn't necessarily lose a spot, but didn't make up any ground there either.
Yeah, he's worried about where is Mac and Horan and Fike going to come in, as well as Schwenke now up in front of him. But he wants to make sure he gets by the Mac, Horan, Fike battle and let these guys slow things down on their own. But he's also, and speaking of that battle, Brennan Hoare runs a little wide, managed to keep it in check.
Yeah, and he seemed to keep the pace off there. And then right behind him, Jordy Fike, who's now the 3rd car in the train, runs a little bit wide, coming through Clark's.
Yeah, that right-hander of Clark is another one of those blind corners. Not nearly as difficult, I don't think, as the toughest dip, but it's critical because it enters the long straightaway all the way down to that Taylor's hairpin. You got to get on the gas early, but if you push too hard, too early, you end up in that gravel trap, driver's left.
And it's uphill, so lots of opportunity to lose. Even if you don't end up in the gravel trap, driver's left, lots of opportunity there to lose pace.
Those dreaded sausage curbs on that apex too, so you might clobber to that thing and throw the car around, which I managed to do with the Skippy at a couple races last weekend.
Oh, look at that. And as Greg Mack goes through one of the bollards there, I keep thinking about the cones at Sonoma that get knocked down and miraculously end up back in place. But here he just drove right through one of the bollards, and I think if there had been a passenger in that car, it probably would have been the captain.
It's not even an off-track penalty to do it here. You actually kind of aim for those things. You almost want to put your left headlight right into those things. A little bit of a late turn in there for Brennan. I don't think Jordy Fike was expecting it.
Yeah, and Brennan, he's been taking we saw obviously when we thought he outbraked himself. Horn has been taking a much later turn in for Taylor's than either Mac or Fike. And yeah, as you saw there, Fike definitely carrying more speed up that hill. That corner reminds me very much of the very last corner at what used to be known as Beaver Run, is now Pit Race. When Pit Race was just a 7-turn circuit, a 7-turn, 1.7-mile circuit. Same thing, hard on the brakes at the end of a straightaway and uphill hairpin that you always have trouble sighting the apex, and more importantly, you have trouble putting the power down.
Yeah, and I tell you, it's one of those where if it were flat, I think Brennan Horn's got the right idea. Go a little deep, get a late apex. But because it turns uphill, grip comes on suddenly, which means you can get on the gas a lot earlier than you think, and you can hold the momentum because it climbs uphill essentially all the way to exit of the corner. So the line I was choosing to go around here was almost feeling like an early turn in, an early apex. But because there's so much extra grip you need to, you can get away with that. If you try to late apex that one, all you're doing is wasting your time and actually losing a lot of your speed, and then having to get it up again back on this uphill point. You just can't do it. It really does make more sense to turn in early if you can.
All right, tell you what, Larry, since we're having a lot of drivers come in, and we have Travis Schwenke in for his pit stop now, and he should be he pitted in from, I believe, 6th position, and with now let's take a look, drops the wheels. He takes 2 left tires, short course here, but obviously puts a lot of load on the left-hand side of the car. He is on his way out now. Why don't we do this, hopefully before our leaders come in for their pit stops, let's take a quick break, thank some of our sponsors, and then come back with Green Flag Racing all the way to the end. You are watching the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series live tonight for round 7 at Knockhill Racing Circuit. We'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
All right, and we are back here at Knockhill for round 7 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics. And we're back on board with our leaders, John Allen and Dean Dibdahl. But Larry, we were watching a pit stop here during the break and sitting right back behind our leaders. A little, I don't want to say it's a surprise, but we saw something that we didn't expect.
Yes, we were not expecting tires, or maybe they would take left side tires. What we saw Brennan Horan do was take all 4 tires. Now his pit stop was only about 24 seconds, which is pretty much right on par with everyone else, which tells me everyone's taking tires around this place. And I have not looked into the tire wear model to see if that changes. We are now under a new iRacing season here. I don't know if that's the reason, or maybe it's just they take on enough fuel that you may as well take on all 4 tires. What it does mean, he's got cold tires first lap out, and it shows because he came out actually in front of Robert Hartley, but he's let Hartley and Peyton get around him while he gets his tires up to temp.
Yeah, so that is going to drop Brendan Horn now back into 6th position.
Ooh,
and so, yeah, with
still
Hartley
sliding.
and yeah, so still trying to get some heat in him here as Hartley and Peyton. And we talked about after the pit cycles here for the 3 car and the 64 car that David Peyton had come out 2 spots ahead of Robert Hartley, and obviously that has now swapped. Those 2 drivers have swapped positions, as you know, we've said pretty much from the start that Robert Hartley was more or less after lap 1 the fastest driver out on course here. So he's trying to make his way up. And again, 24 seconds. It looked, you know, as we were watching him in the pit lane, we could swear that he only took 2 tires and not all 4. But
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. Right now, his lap times are, he just did a 56.0, which is pretty solid. That's a touch quicker than anybody else on track. Right up there. In fact, though, Greg Mack also just did a 56.0. So that's the battle he's in right now, is he wants to be faster than Greg Mack and Jordy Fike, because that's the guys he was in that line with when he decided to make that early stop. So he was able to get around Peyton and Horan. Those are the other two guys that were in that battle. Now he's got to hope that his pace is strong enough to get by Mack and Fike. But that still would only put him about 10 seconds or so behind John Allen and Dean Dibdahl for the lead. So he would still have some work to do, and only 27 minutes to do it.
There you go. And notable that that Robert Hartley just now gets around Jeffrey Cranston in the Craney Customs car there, as those are the two drivers that got together when
actually, that's Prevenus, the 29.
You're right. I'm sorry. That's Patrick Prevenus a lap down. So, yeah, I thought that was
you can say that,
the Craney Customs.
You can say that for when he does get by him.
Yes, that's right. The 97 car is just up ahead, and a couple seconds up the road. We'll see how that works.
Yeah,
something tells me it will go. Oh, and Greg Mack now on the pit lane as well, pitting in from third position.
Jordy Fike right behind him. So you've got this battle that was third and fourth overall, second and third, of course, in the pro class. Now in the pits, they are in a fight with Hartley, Peyton, and Horan, who you can see right now back there. Let's see where they come out, and they're likely going to have warm tires. I don't know that either one of these guys took any.
All right, and so Jordy Fike, first driver out in the 09 machine. Greg Mack, second driver out, and about as close. Oh, here we go.
And it's a battle. It's on.
Yeah, it's definitely going on there. I was going to say only about a tenth of a second difference between those two Team Esport Racer drivers here, but the action is definitely heating up just ahead as they rejoin just ahead of Hartley.
Jordy Fike seems to come out in the best. There's Brennan Horn through the gravel trap in the background, but Jordy Fike seems to not only have come out slightly ahead, he's able to stay on line. Struggles there for Greg Mack as they went into the turn 1, 2, 3 complex there. He loses a couple spots. You can see him now down behind this group about a second and a half. But for Hartley, he still has one more car to get by who has pitted. That's Jordy Fike. But Jordy right now looking very racy, very strong coming out of the pits.
That's right. And so Mike Key there in the blue and white number 98 machine, he was trying to find any way possible those drivers go by on the railway straight there, the back straight, and they did finally at the end there. But oh, look at this as John Casey takes to the gravel trap on the exit. You said it was going to be tight coming out of that pit lane, Larry, but the battle is now definitely on here as we watch Jordy Fike and Robert Hartley nose to tail right now. This is the battle for fourth, but Jeffrey Cranston up ahead in the number 97 machine. He has not pitted, nor has John Allen. However, Dean Dibdahl, I don't think we caught it. Dean Dibdahl has already completed his pit stop. He decided to come in before our leader, John Allen.
He did, and that's what we talked about. If he was able to save any fuel, he could now pick and choose his own strategy. Yeah. We don't know where those guys were on track as we're watching this battle going wide and all kinds of crazy.
It looks like Cranston's now
going to get out of the way.
And now, Larry, I'm looking at Dibdahl's pit stop, and about 3 seconds longer than most of the 3 to 4 seconds longer in the box than most of the other drivers. And I'm wondering if he just maybe unnecessarily took on too much fuel,
or he missed his pit box. Could be one or the other. Easily 3 seconds is quite a bit of fuel, but easily if you miss your pit box, it could force you to have to back up and lose a lot of time.
All right, so here we go. This is I think going to be the place with all the action, at least for a number of laps. Oh, and we do have John Allen, our leader, in the pits
goes
now.
Wide. All things are happening now as Allen's in, but Fike, though, puts it in the gravel trap coming out of Clark. He doesn't lose it entirely, but he does lose 2, maybe 3 spots, as Peyton now is going to try and push down the outside and get him. They're side by side through Taylor's.
Yeah, and Peyton just gets a great run up the hill.
Watch Horan, though. Watch Horan. He's going to maybe get by one or both, as he got the best run of all.
Yeah, and so the 09 car, Jordy Fike, now drops back into 7th position. So what, we're looking at 4 positions lost in just the span of about 4 turns here at Knockhill. But
you know, about a half a mile around this place.
It's not much, but you know, you make a big run through the gravel trap there. You can see how much momentum he lost. So move Robert Hartley now back into 3rd position after and running wide now, Brennan Horn. And Horn's found that gravel trap multiple times
today. He's a rallycross
today,
driver tonight. He just wants to be in the gravel trap. We know that his buddy Fike just did it in the next corner in the last lap. These two guys finding all kinds of ways to get your Miata onto dirt. Not the fast way.
Yeah, you know, and we thought that Horn had taken both left and right side tires. Maybe he should have taken four left side tires there to keep from going into that gravel trap.
Or dirt tires.
That's right. I mean, we've seen him there a ton tonight. But so Robert Hartley, now your third place runner. Remember, Hartley had fallen all the way to the back of this field on lap number 2 after coming together with the Craney Customs machine of Jeffrey Cranston. And Cranston, if we track where he rejoined after his pit stop, he rejoined all the way back in 11th position. So, I mean, certainly Hartley made out the better of those two after that incident.
Yes, and he right now is leading this train. He is the engine pulling the cars behind him. All he wants to do is lay down laps. He's running low 56s. We'll get a chance to see what John Allen's times are. Hartley is slightly quicker, it looks like, but 13 seconds in 21 minutes is not going to be easy. Who knows, though, with Dibdall now kind of floating somewhere in between, maybe they could put something down. Traffic could come into play. There's a lot of things still that could be here to come, but Hartley is in the position he was trying to get back to in front of this train.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I was looking for, Larry, is after John Allen completed his pit stop, what that gap was going to be back from our leader, John Allen, back to Dean Dibdall. And although it's not showing on our timing tower right now, it's about 4.5 seconds, I think.
Yeah. Probably 3 or 4 seconds, I believe.
Yeah,
because they're not showing the timing tower because they are in different classes, with one being in pro, one being
there you
AM.
go. But yeah, I think we're looking at a difference of now what actually about a little bit under 5 seconds.
Which isn't insurmountable, for sure. Which would put him about 7 seconds ahead of this pack, ahead of Robert Hartley. So, nothing decided yet. And in this pack, you can see the timing board there. Hartley, Mack, Peyton, Horan, Fike, and your pole sitter, Travis Schwenke, just a couple seconds back there.
Yeah, he
could be right in this here shortly, yeah.
Yeah, that blue and white Orion Racing machine, you can see him there just crusting over Duffus Dip right now. He's coming.
He just started 55.5 his last time around. That's about 0.6 quicker than Hartley and Mack at the front of this train. So yes, there is a Travis Schwenke moving quickly to gain this pack. And at that point, you'll have, 6 cars fighting for one podium spot.
That's right, and we still have 20 minutes remaining here at Knockhill. So lots of time is to be had for to make up positions here as we head down hard under braking down into Taylor's hairpin once again. And as we watch the tail end of the 64 machine of David Payton, Brennan Horn, I think still fighting, the right way to enter that corner. He just does not seem to carry the speed that the 64 machine does. The other thing you'll notice here is right behind Brennan Horn that that the 09 machine of Jordy Fike, he's using literally every last inch of pavement that he has going over into the apron from the pit out area to set up for Duffus Dip, and he carries good speed typically down through there a little bit more. I think it may be a little bit more than both Payton and Horn do.
Yeah, it's a great line watching him do that, and I'll tell you, it really pays off because there's no grip when you go down the Duffus Dip. It just falls straight downhill. It's sort of a little corkscrew like, if you look at Laguna Seca, where as long as you turn in right, it just glides down, and he's got that. You can see, look at this line here as he turns in for the hairpin too. He's got a really good line around this place, and I think that's why he's able to get right up on to the back of that 45 Brennan Horn and really push him. That problem is there's nowhere to go, and he still would have to get around David Payton as well. But take a look, peek in the back, there he is, the 16, and Travis Schwenke picking up even more time and picked up another second or so on these guys the last time around.
And there you go. You see how it just drops away, and not so much even Duffus Dip, but it's getting that car as you kind of hit the tabletop there. That quick left-hander at Leslie's. I mean, again, it's such a great little complex there, all going downhill, trying to keep the rear end of the car underneath you through Duffus Dip, Leslie's, and McIntyre's as the track switches back to the right again at that 90-degree corner.
I tell you what, Travis is now 1 second back of Jordy Fike, so he's in that draft. He's going to be getting a good little tow And by the time they come around to this, another, 1.2 miles around, whatever this place is, he is going to be right in the trunk of somebody else's Miata.
Well, you can see there he was going under braking into Taylor's, and he didn't get a good run, I think, because of how late on the brakes he was. But Schwenke was Schwenke was, I mean, literally right up to the trunk of Jordy Fike there for a moment, and then dropped back just because he had all the pace early on in the corner and didn't have good exit speed.
These three, starting with Peyton, are fighting every little inch. Neither one of them, I think they're driving their mirrors. They're kind of all over the place. Where Travis is getting runs. And he's getting runs off of corners like Clark, this right-hander right here. And look at how much they bunch up going in. Watch Travis behind them.
And you can see now as the 09 car,
there
you
he
see
is.
how he gets defensive. Either getting defensive or just lets Schwenke by. I don't know what that was.
That view was to look out the back of the 09 of Jordy Fike when there was no one there. It's because Travis had already gone by. There's one down. Let's see if he can pick off one car per lap. This is going to be pretty impressive. Again, this is the pole sitter. Had the lead for 1.5 laps, spun on his own. So watching him roll his way through the field is pretty impressive. Just going to pick them one by one if he can. And they're going to get harder and harder the further up the chain you go. I suspect if he doesn't get Horan off of Clark, he might just get him on the front straight with the way he takes the Taylor's hairpin.
Yeah, let's take a look here as they come through that 90-degree uphill at Clark's and make the run. And I'm sure even from as far back as Travis Schwenke has been, I'm sure he's been able to get a good idea of what the 45 machine has been doing. The 45 maybe a little bit earlier on the brakes than his compatriot David Payton up ahead. And once again, Schwenke right on the rear bumper there as they come onto the front straight.
Brennan's got to realize he's kind of sitting duck, or he's got to get up and go now, or don't go at all, because he's going to get past if he doesn't go passing. It's just the way this is going to go. Schwenke is not going to sit there for long. So that's where right now you can see this aggression by Brennan. He knows he has to get by, or it's going to be a 2-for-1 deal for Schwenke getting them both.
And you can see there the rejoining the action right back behind that red
push.
number 56 of Nicholson.
Yep, there's the push. Look at Schwenke now. Has to take a hard cut of the apex to avoid David Payton, but this is going to give a run for Schwenke to be able to pass down the inside. Look at him. He's getting pushed.
Yeah, Payton's not making it easy for him. They're going to go in side by side in the Taylors. Oh, and Schwenke almost gets the rear end
coming out
of Horan, but they are now side by side. Of course, Schwenke now has position going into Duff's dip.
He lost no momentum, though. No momentum. The little outside run there for Payton was able to give him just a little bit better line, a little bit more earlier on the gas to get down that front straightaway.
Well, yeah, and I think Larry, that Schwenke had to get on the binders pretty hard mid-corner, or he would have taken the rear end of the 45 car along with him.
And it was fair fighting. I mean, that's the name of the game, track position. And if you can keep yourself on someone's outside through a corner like that, you restrict them. But again, Payton unable to get the run off of the chicane, going to leave Schwenke an opportunity. But again, they're side by side, a little more contact, it looks like. Look at Jordy Fike.
Payton's going to push him over, and now Schwenke's going to have to deal with Jordy Fike again. And all the while, this is giving a little bit of breathing room for Brennan Horan, who is now sitting up in 5th position and now running wide. And that's the second time we've seen that tonight from the 09 machine of Jordy Fike.
And just take note, that's Nate Nicholson coming up the inside there in that red car. He's not just any lapped car. He's the guy who started this race up in the top 3 rows.
Right.
So he's got pace, but he's 2 laps down because of the accident that he had early on. But he certainly got pace. He could run with these guys if he just wants to play. But of course, he doesn't want to interrupt the race, but he doesn't mind watching in the best seat in the house.
Yeah, and while he's sitting back there watching, I'm sure Jordy Fike, is probably looking at his mirrors trying to figure out what the intentions are. As Schwenke goes wide into the gravel trap, going down or coming out of the chicane, and that is going to drop him off the back of the 64 car Payton just a little bit. But I'll tell you, as he went bounding through the gravel trap, Larry, didn't really seem to slow the car up all that much. He was actually able to straighten things out a little bit coming out of that chicane.
Kept his foot in it for sure. Does not want to give up anything, knowing that he's got Jordy Fike right on his 6. He can't afford to give up anything. He needs to pressure Payton into another one of those mistakes. Peyton seems to have settled those down. And just note the pace of Robert Hartley. Remember, these guys at one point were all kind of in a row. Hartley is now about 5 seconds up the road of this three-way battle.
And so we'll see here now, the first half of the course, the first 0.6 of a mile or so, this is where Schwenke seems to have an advantage. But, the last number of laps where he's had issues with the exit of the chicane, maybe coming out of Clark's, and I'm still trying to get a handle on,
this is the run.
Once again, gets, straightens things out a little bit on exit, and we'll see what he does
He's
coming down to
now.
the hairpin.
If he could just hold it through the hairpin, because he definitely has the run in the track position.
Yeah.
But can he
and
get
now
the
he's
run?
He's gonna push Peyton wide, and he doesn't have to worry about the bumper of a car in front of him to keep his to stunt his pace. And there you go. Travis Schwenke now takes over the position, move him up into 6th, getting around David Peyton.
Solid work for Schwenke. Peyton did not make it easy by any means. Great driving by all these guys, as we had seen the same thing from Brennan Horn just a few minutes ago. And there's Brennan Horn hounding Greg Mack as they're going to go through that chicane, and Horn looks quicker there than does Mack. This is the battle for 3rd in class, 4th overall. These guys this is just crazy. We are 52 laps into this. I mean, you almost get dizzy at this pace, ripping around this now for 50 minutes. And these guys are still just fighting for every inch. Yeah,
I mean, it makes Lime Rock look like slow motion almost.
Lime Rock's got, a couple little straightaways, turn 3, turn 4, a little uphill, a little downhill.
Oh, and a little bit of contact there between David Peyton and Jordy Fike. And Fike's now going to fall back. Of course, again, the car getting around him, that is Nate Nicholson in that red number 56 machine. He's a couple laps down.
Yeah,
but
he's got pace. He's running 56s with these guys, but he'll have to give a position up if he's at all impeding Jordy Fike. But right now, he's as quick as any of them, and he's just saying, maybe I can unlap myself.
And now, so I was thinking that once Schwenke had cleared himself with David Peyton, that he might have, be able to make a decent run and get away from them. But, there's always traffic here, and now Schwenke does manage to get by some lap traffic. And and so now Peyton is going to have to deal with Ruddock, and probably got him in the best place possible. But we'll see here. If I was Nate Nicholson, I'd be a little worried about going 3 wide into Taylor's, given how things went on early in this race.
Although, if you're Jordy Fike, I might be a little frustrated knowing there's just one extra car in the mix. Even though it's Nicholson and he's fast, it's one extra car that you just don't want to deal with, and you want to take the fight directly to Peyton, and you can't.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it puts a car that's a lap down in the middle of a fight for position, a battle for position.
Jordy Fike, the 09, just got a warning for avoidable contact. Not sure which contact that one was from. There's been plenty to choose from.
And Peyton runs a little wide there, going down the hill through McIntyre's, and now Peyton falling off the pace of Travis Schwenke just that bit more, as Schwenke now can set his sights on the pair of the 2 Esports racer machines of Brennan Horn and Greg Mack, who are now side by side. That's certainly going to slow them down just a little bit as they go into Taylor's. And you can see there, Larry, if you're trapped to the outside going through that hairpin, you've kind of like the toe of the boot at Watkins Glen. You've got a nice little groove down at the apex, but it flattens out and becomes almost like a tabletop to the outside, and you just lose a lot of the grip if you're not in that groove. So not only do you have a lot more pavement to cover, but you don't have the profiling of the track to kind of suck you around the corner either.
Just watching this here is, again, running all over those wickets up there. The cricket game broke out, but as Mac now
wickets,
with this place has been full of that today. But as we flash back up to our leaders, we have not checked in a while here. As John Allen's been making some pretty quiet work, just getting through traffic and not giving up much for time. Currently about 4.5 seconds ahead of Dean Dibdahl, and John's quick. I mean, he just turned nearly his quickest lap of the race at a 55.5, and just been one lap after another. Boy, I wonder where this race would have been, though, had Dibdahl been able to get in and out of the pits at the same time as other guys, because he's 4 seconds back.
That's the gap right there, is the extra time that he spent on the pit lane.
Yeah, and Dean's been quick every lap, but fortunately, not to be with that pit stop. But he's going to make good work out of this. He is still leading his class, which is great for him and his points battle that he's got going on. But I'm sure he would have loved to not only win the class, but win the overall. something's going to have to happen in the next 8 minutes to allow that to happen, and John Allen's going to do everything in his power to make sure that he walks away and sees that checker flag first.
And interesting here as we watch John Allen, our leader, coming up on Jeffrey Cranston, that Craney Customs machine, the number 97. Cranston currently running third in the AM category. And Cranston's been making pretty quick work of it. He's making up ground on Edgar Sancinelli. You can see that yellow number 57 machine just a little bit up ahead of our leader, John Allen. And, so as we have now only about 6.5 minutes remaining here at Knockhill, I mean, there's still an opportunity there for Cranston to move up another position on the podium. But let's quickly run down the top order in our three classes. Of course, John Allen currently your leader in pro, with Robert Hartley now running in second in class, Brennan Horn, and that means Robert Hartley has gotten around both Greg Mack and Brennan Horn, and actually he's been up there for quite a while. So Hartley running in second, Horn now in third, Greg Mack fourth, Travis Schwenke trying to make up ground and see if he can get himself on the podium. In the AM category, Dean Dibdahl, who is running second overall, he's your leader in class there as we see him drifting that car down through Duffus Dip. Then Edgar Sancinelli, he is running 10th overall in the Frito Sport Racing entry, but he is currently second in AM. Running third in AM is Jeffrey Cranston, who on track is 2 cars back. There's the Craney Customs car. He's got, he can use John Allen's 101 to kind of drag him up to Edgar Sancinelli. Might be a good play for him. That is your top 3 in AM, and Steve Daniel about 11 seconds in arrears there in the 96 machine after he had his early spin.
I'd just be curious to take a look at the stats on what kind of incident numbers we've got going tonight, because you do see a lot of that pushing wide, 2 tires in the gravel trap at a couple of spots. I wonder if anybody's going to push a little bit too hard, because there are potentials for drive-throughs and things should the points get exceeded. But certainly, even if you don't get that far, there are championship point implications if you get above 20 of those incidents in any single race. So just kind of keeping an eye on that here in this one, because it seems there's a lot of that going on tonight.
Yeah, and of course, it may not affect during the race, but it could certainly, Larry, affect the points payouts for the race. Now, we don't have an exact count on these drivers, but I can tell you that Dean Dibdahl is somewhere around 10 incident points. Same for Brennan Horn, same for Jordy Fike, same for Edgar Sancinelli.
Yeah. So those guys have some pretty hard racing as it continues with Schwenke trying to get by Greg Mack.
Yeah, and Schwenke having to take 2 wheels into the gravel trap as they make the run down to Taylor's. The 2 car now comes down to the inside, try to protect going in, and we just said how difficult, and you can see there how things flatten out from the outside, but Schwenke now able to get around the number 2 car, so move him up into 5th overall, 4th in class.
I tell you what, I'm impressed. He is now 1 more spot away from putting himself back on a class podium, where he led this race, had that spin, had to watch essentially the entire field go past him. And then to work your way up, and at this stage, 4 minutes to go, about 4 laps to go, to have a chance to be back on a podium in class, this is an amazing recovery drive for Travis.
Yeah, so we'll see here, as you said, probably just now about 3 more laps, maybe a little bit over 3. I'd say probably 3 laps when they get up to the start-finish, or to the finish line. Again, we have the finish line a little bit closer to that final corner to Taylor's hairpin than the start line was. The start line's about 3/4 of the way down the front straight.
We might get even a 4th one, because John Allen crossed about as we were talking about that, and there were still we're at the 56 and change mark. So I hope everybody carried on that extra lap of fuel from their pit stop. We're pretty sure Dean Dibdahl did.
I think Dean Dibdahl did.
Anybody else that cut us short could be at risk tonight, so we'll have to wait and see if we start seeing some extra fuel saving techniques here. But just watching Schwenke now focusing in on Brennan Horn.
It didn't take him long to get up to Horn, and let's see if Horn can keep that car on the track as they come now over to that uphill Clark's Corner And this is where Horn has gone off quite a bit. He manages to keep it on the curbing
Look
there.
at the lap times that Brennan Horn's put down. Those are very respectable laps. 56.2, 56.3 are the slowest in this run, and still giving up time to Travis. Travis is flying.
All right, and so Travis now not quite to the rear bumper as they come into Taylor's, but we'll see now as he is firmly in the draft. The only thing is that they have that slower car, Larry, just up ahead of him.
He'll use that to hopefully tow himself along a little bit, and that is the 29 of Patrick Preventis, who's got a lot of camera time tonight.
Yes, and there he goes. Preventis pops over the curbing at the apex. Now that's going to slow the 16 down just a little bit as they come up to the chicane.
Well, Brennan had also done his own bit of slowing down a little bit, and now a little bit of graveling on the left side tires. He's just pushing really hard right now.
That's right, but it's also let Greg Mack get back into the battle here. So Schwenke's got to deal not only with Horn in front, but he's got to take a couple brief looks at the number 2 car behind.
This is really, I think, where Schwenke's got such a good line around that Taylor's hairpin, able to get the run. You can see, I don't think it's enough to get him into 1, but you can see the protecting line now for Brennan to try and hold that.
Yeah, and if Schwenke can keep Brennan from getting all the way over driver's left, it's really going to compromise the entrance, and he does. And so there you go. The number 16 machine, Travis Schwenke, he now moves up into 4th position overall, 3rd in pro after having a recovery drive from all the way at the back of the pack. That moves Brendan Horn now just off the podium in 4th in pro, 5th overall, as we now jump over to John Allen. And we are, Larry, going to have one more lap here at Knockhill. John Allen gets the white flag with about 30 seconds left on the clock. And John Allen has had, I don't want to say it's been a quiet race for him. I mean, certainly as far as, battling for position, after Schwenke had that off on lap number 2. But John Allen, he had a great run with Dean Dibdahl early on in this race, but again, I don't think Dean was challenging for position.
John's losing pace quickly, very quickly. He started this lap with a 5-second lead. It's down to 3.5. He could just be playing conservative. He could be. We've known that he tends to cut his fuel numbers pretty tight.
Very close. And again, we're on the last corner here, Larry, and he's got a car directly in front of him that I'm sure he didn't want to risk any kind of late race contact there. John Allen, he does make it across the line. John Allen will take the win here at Knockhill. Dean Dibdahl will finish 2nd, takes the win in the AM category. And now another great recovery drive, finishing 2nd in pro, 3rd overall, is going to be the number 3 Orion Racing entry of Robert Hartley. Travis Schwenke in his Orion Racing entry, he will finish now in 3rd. Last up on the podium in pro, 4th overall, finishing just off the podium in pro is going to be Brendan Horn. Ran a great race tonight with Greg Mack right behind. They finished 5th and 6th overall respectively. And then we've got Jordy Fike, who manages to hold off David Payton here at the end of the race. Fike finishing 7th, Payton 8th, 6th and 7th in pro. And then Jeff Jacobs in the number 38 machine, he comes across the stripe. He is going to finish 8th in pro. Edgar Sancinelli, though, now crosses the stripe. Edgar Sancinelli, he finishes 2nd in AM. And let's take a look here. Jeffrey Cranston, I believe, coming out of the final corner. Well, let's take a look here as Sancinelli's going down the pit lane, as is Cranston.
Everyone's going in as they should have finished a lap down, so they're racing.
You're right, exactly. They finished a lap down, so they're already across. There we go. All right, so Sancinelli, he's going to finish 2nd in AM. Cranston is going to finish 3rd in AM, last step on the podium. All right, so Larry, let's take another quick break. We'll thank our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll recap the finish, and then we'll talk to some of our podium finishers. You have just seen a great 60-minute battle here from Knockhill for round 7 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics, and we'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.
All right, and we are back here in Scotland, Knockhill Racing Circuit, and well, it looks like John Allen's getting a free ride around the track for a victory lap here. As Nate Nicholson is pushing the 101 machine around. Let's recap our finish here as John Allen, the 101 machine. Well, he had enough fuel to get around and complete this race. He led from the second half of lap number 2 all the way to the end. The Seamless Racing driver takes the win. Robert Hartley finishes second in pro. Travis Schwenke finishes on the last step of the podium in the pro category. Brennan Horan, Greg Mack finished just off 4th and 5th. And if we take a look at the AMs, those are the drivers that you see with the red numbers on the left-hand side. Indeed, Dibdahl from ZP Motorsports, he takes the win. Edgar Sanchinelli will finish second. Jeffrey Cranston in the Cranny Customs machine. Good recovery for him after that early tank slapper that he had. He finishes third. Steve Daniel finishes just off the podium in 4th. Russ Ruddick brings his car home in 5th, a lap down. All right, so Larry, I see that we have our winner, John Allen, and I hesitate to bring him into the announce booth here as I guess we always wanted in-car commentary. This might be the closest we get to it here in the Classic Sprint Series. But absolutely great run. Tell you what, he's on the pit lane now. I mean, there are a limited number of people that he can hurt at this point. Why don't we bring in our winner, John Allen?
All right, we are here with the race winner tonight, John Allen, who just got an interesting push around from Nate Nicholson around the track. John, congratulations on this victory. Man, that's a crazy start, a crazy bunch of laps, great battles, but walk me through a little bit of your night.
Yeah, well, the track is nonsense, right? We start with that. This is the first race I've run around here, and I did get in a little bit of practice, enough to kind of figure out setup that absorb the bumps, because you got to drive the line on them. So I had a dream at the start of this race that I would have 0x, and that would be so impressive with my history. But once I got my first one on like lap 12 or 13, then it didn't matter anymore. So I made sure, I thought, to take enough fuel, but you know me. And once I exited the pits and started doing the math, it was risky. So I took the time I had for Dean to get back to about 2 seconds. I was running maybe a half second to 7/10 off of what I thought I could. And then now I can make it. And literally, as you saw, I made it to the line, but couldn't make it back to the pits. So didn't need to be that close. Definitely a mistake I made. Dean was right there. And I thought he was maybe saving early on, because he was just tucked right in my hip pocket. But
yeah, we're going to talk to Dean in a few minutes, figure out what went on with him. Unfortunately, a bit of a pit stop, a lot longer than everybody else. I think he could have run another 10 or 15 laps, probably the amount of fuel we think he took on. But he pushed you pretty hard. I mean, it looks like you guys kind of both just said, all right, the mayhem is cleared. Let's just ease this going. Was that did you guys get a bit of a groove there with Dean, that you guys just kind of figured it was a 2-man, let's just wait till the end to fight it out?
Yeah, we didn't have any radio communication, but it was clear. I mean, I made a couple mistakes in front of him, and he had a chance to send it in there and lift. So I knew that he felt like what we were doing was working, and the gap was forming. So we just leave it as, hopefully, barring any pit drama, a 2-man race, and that's about how it worked. To that, it was just kind of traffic management. Saving fuel there to where I thought was comfortable, and then hoping that I got some benefit. He didn't, or not the other way around, or else it would have been right back where we started.
Yeah, no, and it's honestly, it's survival of this race in the early stages. Specifically, there was a big wreck that happened right behind you guys there. You had Travis, of course, unfortunately spinning and going off there. At that point, it is survival. I don't know how close you had gotten to Travis when he had his off, but also he was able to spin and stay clear. But at that point, I think, luckily Dean didn't push too hard, and you guys were able to kind of open up that gap and just sort of pick your spots, because I think you end up lapping a good chunk of this field twice in some cases, because it's just a short lap. I mean, do you get dizzy going around this place?
I'm feeling it in the arms for sure. Someone beforehand said it was like lime rock on steroids. I said maybe it's more like lime rock on acid, but it's definitely a workout for such a short lap. And it's almost a little more like, when they put the autocross in the wrong place. The parking lot's next to the track, but they decide to put it here.
A little crazy night, but you're able to clear the dust clear and get on through, come home with a victory. Another one of the victories here this season for you. Who do you want to thank tonight?
I'm sure it was a good show. You guys are great to listen to. I always enjoy watching it back. The league to try out a couple new tracks this season. I mean, we saw a couple bumps and bruises here, but I think everybody largely had a great time. So I'm glad to see some new tarmac out here. And big shout out, to Dean for the podium, and honestly for some early issues. You see where Travis wound up after the spin to be top 5, and Robert on a podium likewise. So good battling back there, and I hope it showed on the broadcast.
Absolutely did. It was a lot of fun to call this one. I can't wait to see a few more races from here. But you've got a pretty good lead now in the point standing, so it's going to be a good little fight to the end, but it's good to be on the high side instead of the low going into it.
Yeah, we missed Mike tonight, and with the scoring, that's we'll see how the season shakes out. Maybe I'll have to pick one to even the score, but I'd like to have the points battle at the end, but we missed him on track tonight.
Yeah, for sure. He's always a good one, but I'm sure next time around he'll be back. So congrats again on the win, John, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right, Larry, thanks.
All right, there you go. Seamless Racing's John Allen, our winner tonight at Knockhill. And so now let's bring in Dean Dibdahl. Finishes second, and that's nothing to scoff at as he takes home the win in our AM category this evening.
Thank you.
All right, we're here with Dean Dibdahl, and Dean, you come in thinking, I'll just try and fight for AM lead, and suddenly 2 laps in, you're in that pack of 4 and then became a pack of 2. Each of you guys are in your own classes, but you were right there with John, giving him all he can handle. Walk me through a little bit of that and let me know kind of how we went through that pit stop.
Yeah, I really came into this race just looking for a class victory, but just a second place victory is just outstanding. But just coming to this race, I was thinking it was going to be just boring, just driving in a line, just a big train. But it just turned out to just be exciting. And just driving with John just was incredible. And I learned a little bit from him.
Yeah, you guys, we just got done talking to him, and once you guys kind of got clear of that pack, you guys just sort of settle in and were able to pick your way through traffic. And you guys weren't though talking to each other, but I think you guys were sending signals to each other of what kind of game this could be and how patient you guys were able to show each other.
Yeah, it was just a game of just following and just getting through lap traffic. That was just the main factor. A couple times lap traffic kind of split us a little bit, but we just eventually made our way back together and just continued to keep going.
So that got us to about that midpoint of the race, maybe a little beyond. You came in for your pit stop, and you had a bit longer stop than the others. Was it a fuel calculation thing, or did something else go on?
I took 2 left side tires, so that might have been a slower stop. I also missed the pit stall by a little bit, so that just kind of delayed the time it took.
Yeah, that'll do. We saw a lot of folks taking a couple of tires tonight, but certainly missing a pit stall can hurt. But you're still able to get back out there. You didn't even see that battle that went on behind you guys for the rest of that podium. Those guys had to fight tooth and nail to get anything. All you had to do was fight your way through a lot of traffic for the next 20 minutes to bring this one home. How was traffic when you're out there by yourself tonight? Are they moving aside? If it's only a 30-foot wide track, how far aside can they move?
Most of them moved aside pretty quickly when they saw us, but some of them were just like they were in their own battle, so it was kind of hard for them to just move out of the way. So it was a little bit difficult to get by.
Yeah, I mean, this track and this kind of racing remind you at all of go-kart racing? It's such a tight track. Everything's sort of right on top of each other, and the battles are so tight. I know you've done a bunch of kart racing. Does this sort of give you back to that feel?
Yeah, this track definitely reminds me of a kart track. Here you're just jumping curbs, which you do a lot in karting. You're also just trying to find your way through the traffic. If like you're going through slower cars, you just like have to just find the way around outside or inside.
Yeah, and tonight, a lot of that survival, but you came out ready to fight from the beginning, put the car on the grid right there on those front 2 rows, and gave these pro class drivers all they can handle, and came away with the victory in your class. So congratulations on that. Anybody you want to thank tonight in the ZP Motorsports team?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the Zane Plumbing Motorsports. I'd like to thank Ricmotech. I'd like to thank Cross Country Mortgage and my family.
Awesome. Well, great job tonight, Dean. And it was a great race to watch. And hopefully you can go off and celebrate a little bit tonight with that family. And we'll see you again in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Dean Dibdahl, driver of the number 19 ZP Motorsports Mazda MX-5, taking the win tonight in the AM category. So, Larry, I guess as we start to wrap up here, this is, we're now 2/3 of the way through the season, actually a little bit more than 2/3 of the way through the season. And, whereas we have had just the schedule filled with tracks that are tight, they're twisty. We're finally going to open things up just a little bit with the last 2 rounds, and we'll talk about that coming up here in just a second. But this race certainly, as as John Allen said, lime rock on acid. I mean, the action never seemed to stop.
Those crazy Scots have got themselves a great racetrack. Sorry, I had to do it once.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, it's your heritage, man. All right, so why don't we wrap things up here, Larry? And first off, if you like what you saw here tonight, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up on YouTube. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV. Click on that notification bell so you can find out about all the great virtual motorsports action that we have every single day from all around the world. You won't be disappointed. So let's take a look at our upcoming schedule. And we've got a little bit of a surprise here for everybody. Now, first off, next week, Monday night, the Ricmotech World Challenge returns around 5 of 7. And, this is a track that's built for the World Challenge. We're going to be going to the Circuit de la Sarthe. We're going to be going to Le Mans for a 90-minute battle. You don't want to miss it. And then in 2 weeks, the Classic Sprint Series. As I said, things are going to maybe open up just a little bit. We're going to be going to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, another 60-minute race on the schedule, round 8 of 9. That is on Monday night, March 28th, 8 p.m. And to give you a little bit of a heads up, season ender at Watkins Glen. So, I mean, it should be a great way to round out the season in the Classic Sprint Series. And then finally, here is the surprise. May 9th, the return after a season off, the return of the Ricmotech Sports Car Series. Going to have 2 30-minute races from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca GT4 cars, TCR cars, and it is going to be a battle royal, especially as we've had what now 3 new cars added to TCR on the iRacing platform.
It's no longer just Audis. You've got
That's
the
right.
Honda. You got a couple of Hyundais in there. That's gonna be a lot of fun. And GT4's got a couple new ones as well.
That's right. We've got the BMW M4. We just had the Aston Martin added in the last couple of days. It's no longer just a Porsche Cayman game there. So it should be a great return for the Ricmotech Sports Car Series. So let's thank you all for joining us here tonight. For Larry Lefty McLeod, for Jonathan Grabowski, and of course for Dennis Branch, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we will see you next Monday night from Le Mans.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.